Welcome to Modern Sages podcast. In this episode, I have the amazing Malorie Heber on as a guest. She is such a light and such an inspiration. She is a mom of two kids, a wife. She's a breathwork facilitator. She has hosted beautiful outdoor retreats and classes, online courses, all of the good things connected to breathwork. She shares experiences of her healing from organized religion and how she was able to find a lot of healing and understanding through the power of breath work and through nature and through slowing down and reconnecting. And I feel like as we embrace the medicine within, regardless of what we're experiencing, breath work and reconnection is a huge part of embracing the medicine within. So I can't wait to share more about this amazing podcast with you. Are you searching? Are you looking for something new, something different? Are you being called to your ancestral roots? The Modern Sages podcast is a tribe of women that believe in exploring beyond the broken constructs of society. We believe in empowering women to embrace the medicine within, all with an open mind, baby. Before we dive into this beautiful conversation with Malorie, I wanted to share with you, of course, an herb of the day. Something that I have leaned on recently is ginger. So, of course, we know that ginger is really good for nausea. I used to go to yoga, aerial yoga, and they would have ginger pills where you could suck on the candies if you were getting nauseous. And there have been a handful of times where maybe my stomach has been really bloated, or I just feel like I have a rock in my stomach and I just am feeling really sick. And I'll take some ginger capsules to help ease my stomach. And it has helped immensely. So, ginger is amazing for digestion, it's great for nausea. You can get capsules, you can have a tea of it. You can also have the oil, which honestly, I don't like the smell of the oil, so probably wouldn't apply it in my life very much. I have 2 essential oils of it, and I haven't touched them just because I haven't felt the desire. You can also get different kinda heart chew candies, drops of ginger, so whatever that is to kinda help you if you're having a hard time soothing your stomach or if you're feeling nauseous or if you just need a little help in your digestion, I would definitely suggest to check out ginger just a little bit more. And as I was trying to add herbs to my apothecary, ginger was the first one that I was like, I need to get this and I need to have it in my shelf always. And that is something that we have gone back to many different times. Instead of having to take Tums or Pepto Bismol, we grab some ginger and it's been amazing. Mallory, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. When we met, I had filmed your wedding and that was quite a while ago. And so it's kind of been fun following you online and just watching the different progression of your life and where you've been. I know you've been into music before. You were doing a lot of makeup stuff and then you moved to Idaho. You have this beautiful homestead where you like redid the whole house. It was kind of fun to see all of that. So it's been really fun just to see your life unfold and unravel in that way. And I just feel so honored to bring you on as you've really stepped into this new space of honoring your medicine and sharing in a deep way about breath work, about your family, about your kids, about what you're really up to. And so I just felt really prompted to bring you on, and I'm excited for our conversation.
Oh, thank you, Jen, so much. I am so excited to be here, truly.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's just start with you kind of introducing a little bit about yourself.
So I'm 28 years old. I am a wife. I've been married for 8 years. Um, I have two kids. I have a 6-year-old boy and a 2-year-old little girl. I grew up in the Salt Lake area of Utah in a very religious family, and we moved to Idaho almost 2 years ago. Kind of on a whim, we were just kind of looking for something fresh, something new, and the stars just aligned. And honestly, since moving to Idaho, my life has completely transformed. I feel like it was just exactly what our family needed. It was aligned in the stars for all of this magic to just unfold as soon as we could break away and really start our lives. And I feel like that's exactly what Idaho has done for us. Um, I am a stay-at-home mom. I do teach breath work. I'm a breathwork practitioner. I teach breathwork once a week. I also have done online courses. I'm not currently doing them right now. I'm kind of taking a pause just from social media and building. I'm in a phase of life where I just want to be present with my family. I also do guided backpacking retreats for women. I did two of those this year, and just day hike retreats as well.
Those looked amazing. I wish that I was closer to Utah to participate because I was like, "Oh, I wish I could be a part of those. They look so amazing."
They are incredible. They are probably the favorite thing I do outside of being a mom, for
That's
sure.
that's beautiful. So, you mentioned moving to Idaho and how that really helped you, release and to let go, but also rebuild, and I feel like a lot of people in this soul tribe are those who are seeking for a deeper connection to themselves and to the world and to nature. And I feel like a lot of people are also letting go and releasing a lot of construct in life that no longer serves them. And I've definitely been in this unraveling aspect of that. So, would you say that your journey stepping more into that space happened when you moved to Idaho?
Absolutely, it did. I feel like I don't know. I guess it's just when you grow up in an environment where you're very familiar with it, it's easy to just stay in the motions and not break out of different thinking or different mindsets when you've seen the same people you've seen your entire life. There's nothing really new, nothing super challenging that occurs. Um, and when we moved to Idaho, it was the most challenging thing we've ever done from just like a root standpoint of uprooting our family. And we lived in a fifth wheel camping trailer for 2 months in the dead of winter. It was negative 15 degrees was the average, and we didn't have a home base. But then also on a spiritual level of now all of a sudden I don't have any friends, I don't have any family, I don't know what I believe anymore. What I thought I believe is not sitting with me anymore. And it just really opened up the channel for us to reevaluate, I guess, and just have a fresh start.
That's beautiful. Where did you start? So when you're in this midst of moving and literally the freezing cold and dark, right? Where did
Yeah.
you find like what was that strain of light that helped you move forward?
I had to drop to rock bottom before I could move forward. I have struggled with anxiety and depression almost my entire life. And we moved to Idaho in November. And then the summer after that, I had sunk into the deepest depression that I had ever experienced, to the point that I was really questioning whether I wanted to live anymore. Um, and that was really ground shaking and earth shattering. And whew, just looking back at that time in my life still is very emotional. Honestly, the light was having my mind's eye open to not having to live how I was told to have to live, and being able to see that that was possible. As a woman, I was told exactly how to dress, how to speak, what a good mother was supposed to look like, what a good wife was supposed to look like. And that was not who I was. I was very different from who I was told I was supposed to be. And being able to literally open my mind's eye to be able to see that there's so much more life to live. There, you can be a mom in a different way than what you were told. You can be a different wife. You can dress however you want to. You can speak how you want to, and being able to live for myself again rather than everybody else around me was
Mm.
what I feel like was the shift. I shifted from making other people happy to making myself happy.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I feel like so many of us are going into that space and that's also it's a challenge and it's an unraveling as well because it's so easy, especially when we're taught like it has to be this way, you have to show up this way and look this way. It's easy to fall into that space of like perfectionism, but also perfectionism of the self. Like, oh, I'm not perfect. I'm not showing up this way. What are other people going to think about me? And I too have gone through this space of like trying to just like shed the expectation of others to really step into my own power, my own medicine. And so it's been beautiful. And I feel like so many people, really since 2020, there's been a huge shift in that space. But that's why we need women to share more about the darkness and moving forward and in that space. And I know that you have mentioned a lot in your content too about how nature has been so healing. Of course, you have the day retreats, the overnight retreats, and just helping women also feel safe in nature. So how has nature really been that impact for you?
I feel like nature, I mean, is a common phrase that nature is our greatest teacher. And since we talked about what this podcast was going to be about, I've really been trying to lean into and think about like why is nature our greatest teacher? And I feel like for me and my experience, nature has been my greatest teacher because it's allowed me to be 100% myself. There's no expectations in nature, there's no predispositions of just, I guess, any expectations. And it's quiet, it's still, it's a safe, loving energy. And when I have been able to be in nature, that's when I've been able to break through those mental walls, that programming that I have come with or just been raised with, and to be able to really see myself for myself instead of who people have told me that I was supposed to be. I had an experience actually. I went on a hike by myself, and that's actually why I have my tattoo. It says "Free as a bird." I was laying there, and it was during that summer when I was really, really suffering with depression, and I was watching all of these birds fly around the lake. Um, and I remember thinking to myself, how amazing it would be to just be free like them and to not feel shackled by society's constructs, from social constructs, from my own mindset. And I remember screaming at the top of my lung that I am free. I am free. And that was such a changing point for me. And I felt held in nature, and I felt protected, and I felt free to be who I wanted to be. And I was free as a bird.
Mm. What would you say or what would you suggest for people who like want to be in nature, but it almost brings up this fear-based experience? Does that make I don't know how else to describe it. It was
Absolutely.
intense and it was terrifying. And I'm like, why do I feel that way?
No, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, I think that it's smart always to take any kind of activity where you're alone with a healthy amount of caution. But I think people have just been so used to living in everyday or just not being safe every day. Like getting in a car, that's a terrifying thing. People die in car accidents all the time. Going to a grocery store, you hear about people getting kidnapped or whatever. But for some reason, nature has just been demonized. And I think it's just because people have withdrawn so much from it that there's almost like this talk that it's not a safe place to be when that's just not the truth. And I mean, everywhere is either safe or unsafe depending on what you're looking for, you know?
Right.
Um, I don't know if that answers your question at all, but I just think changing the narrative that nature's not an unsafe place. In fact, it's actually a beautiful place, and you absolutely have to take precautions. I mean, you have to have bear spray if you're in bear country, or you have to let people know where you're going. But I think it's just as safe as anywhere else that we go in the world.
Mm. And have you ever felt like that immense so when you go out into nature and when you're there to like have connection, what is it that you do to prepare? What is it that you bring with you to help you have peace of mind? I only ask because I know you have led different women in retreats there and everything like that. So I feel like you've got pretty good knowledge of how to help people prepare to be comfortable in nature like that.
Are you talking like spiritually comfortable or more from like a physical standpoint?
Both.
Both.
Let's do physical first.
there's a saying that you're only as good as your gear when you're in nature. It's kind of true. I mean, if you're just going for a day hike, a simple backpack is going to be all you need with some water. But I've learned just from the couple backpacking trips that your gear is everything to you. And you don't even have to spend a lot of money on it, just making sure that you get like middle of the grade gear so that you're comfortable. I do personally carry a gun with me. It makes me feel a lot more safe. And then I live in major bear country, so I always have bear spray with me as well. Um, as far as spiritually goes, um, I guess I don't really bring a lot in with me spiritually. When I do my backpacking retreats, I will bring like kapal or just like energetic clearing
Mhm.
stuff. But I just feel like nature is just all you need.
It's yeah, I guess I could see, yeah, it's like that's really all you need in that space. Because Mother Earth, obviously, everything comes
I mean, you
from
have
Mother
all of the
Earth.
elements in their most
Yeah.
natural form
Right.
when you're there. And I think that is just beautiful to have all of those with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I grew up doing a lot of like earthing or like laying in the grass and watching the roots, help me heal and releasing the stress. And when I started doing sessions, I actually was doing like 2 or 3 sessions a day. And then the days that I didn't have sessions, I was hiking. I was out in nature, just like having it almost replenish my soul and like bring that remembrance of like, it's okay. And like letting go of everything there. And I think Mother Earth is such a beautiful component of that nurturing space.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that I also feel like there might be this space in society too where because Mother Earth has so much for us that I feel like in the past when a lot of structure was coming into play, it almost feels like it was made to be like scarcity or worried or almost demonized in a little ways to
Yeah.
kind of help us stay in the line in that way. And I feel like so many people are releasing that construct
Yes.
and it feels like people are being brought back to earth-based practices. Have you
I,
felt that with yourself?
yeah. And I feel that with people that I watch too, that when they start waking up or start experiencing themselves, they're just naturally drawn to nature. Even people who don't have any kind of concept of spirituality, they still are just naturally drawn to nature and they feel that healing energy without even really recognizing exactly what it is. And I find it interesting too that in 2020, when everything was shut down, how nature was just hoarded with people. Like you couldn't get campsites, the national parks were closing down because there were so many people, and people were just drawn to that energy.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense, especially with that awakening really being shifted in that energy and in that time frame as well. It makes
Yeah,
sense if you think about that.
as even though I love the mountains and they are where I feel the most me, my garden is the second place that I feel most me. Just getting my hands in the dirt and creating with Mother Nature is, oh my gosh, so fulfilling. And so I don't want people to feel like they have to have this amazing, incredible nature mountain experience to be able to connect with that kind of energy and
Mm.
have that kind of healing.
Yeah, and even with that, even if someone doesn't have the space for a garden, even if you have a flower plant box outside your window or on your patio, and literally being able to place your hands in the dirt and
Yes.
to just be with it. I'm in an apartment right now, and I actually got a fern for my birthday, and I every plant I've ever gotten, I can't keep alive. So I'm like, okay, I need to have a garden where it kind of naturally can have I I guess if, ferns are on the ground, they're under the trees or in the shade, but our
Okay.
patio was like solid sun and
Uh,
no shade, and he was so angry. And literally, I would be having sessions, and by my window, he would be out there like yelling at me, like, "What is going on here?" So finally, I have this lady she's this cute old lady, and she has this whole garden, like in just plants, like in just these pots along the whole apartment complex. And I was like, I'm just gonna put my little guy in here, and I'll water him, but she'll also take him in. And it was so funny because the next day I was like, "Oh, he's gone." And she had literally put him in her patio, like, right by the door in the shade, and now he's thriving.
Aw, cute.
But, one day I'll experience that in a good way, but I need to, like, know, "Okay, well, they can't just be in the solid sun. I should have known that before." They're kinda
Some cats
temperamental.
love fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
So, yeah, even if you can't be outside, even if it's putting up a bird feeder or hummingbirds or whatever it is, but giving yourself that space to be in nature, creating your own sanctuary where you're
yeah,
at is so important. Or even going to like the park and sitting by the trees and just breathing by the trees. Like it doesn't have to be this extravagant thing. And I'm glad you pointed that out because so many times our life is so go, go, go that we can't take an hour to go somewhere like that, but it's like, "Okay, let's go outside and walk with our feet in the grass," if that's
yes,
what it takes to be grounded in nature as well. So that was a good thing to think about for sure.
it
So,
does.
how did you get into breath work, to being a breathwork practitioner?
I love breath work. um, I took an online course, and I experienced breath work through that course for the first time in my life. And it was somatic breath work. I teach traditional pranayama, and it's a little bit different. But it was a short version of somatic breath work, which is really like intense breathing for a shortish period of time, like 5 to 10 minutes. Um, And in that, I think it was a 5 minute breathing session, I had more physical and emotional release than I had in my entire year that I had been doing therapy and EDMR. And I just could not believe how the next day I felt like a completely transformed human being. I let so much go. So many things that I was holding on were no longer bothering me. My body felt so much different. My mind felt so much different. And I'm kind of, it's actually in my human design that I have an obsession to research and understand things. So I kind of went on a binge and I just started studying and learning all about it and was so flabbergasted by the science along with the ancestral roots behind breathwork that I just knew that I had to share this medicine with everybody who would listen to me.
Mm, let's dive in. I wanna hear a little bit about what you learned with the ancestral roots, if that's okay. I love
Yeah,
everything ancestors, so I'm like, "Oh, I wanna hear about this."
yeah, yeah. So one of the most interesting things that I learned about, it's not really ancestral, and it kind of is. It's more just innate. Is that newborn babies actually will mimic their mom's breathing pattern. So when you lay a baby on mom's chest, they will mimic it, and it's because from like animals or um, just very, I guess, ancestral. Mom teaches baby how to regulate their feelings, how to regulate their nervous system. Um, there's also so many incredible stories about people who live in Eastern Asia and Tibet, Nepal, India, that kind of area. The ancient monks, and they still practice it to this day, but who lived through the most atrocious snowstorms and atrocious weather, like sub zero weather with zero coats, and they stayed alive because of their breath. Um,
Wow.
yeah, that's amazing, amazing stuff. And the root pranayama, which is Sanskrit for life energy or life force, it also means life or breath. You can translate it both ways. And the meaning behind it is that your breath literally connects you to the deepest and most subtle layers of your being or your consciousness, your higher self, your 5D self, whatever form you want to think of. Um, but pranayama, that's the ancient ancestral form of breathing that I teach, and that's essentially what it is.
That's amazing. In your breath work, have you felt, how has that changed your relationship to Mother Earth, to, I always say like Father Sky, but to God and to
Mhm.
your ancestors? How have you felt that shift in yourself?
um,
That's probably a broad question. I'm sure
no,
you've experienced that, but how does that
absolutely.
show up for you?
Um, when I am breathing, especially when I have someone facilitating me and helping me go into a really deep state, I literally leave my body and go to Father Sky or God or consciousness or my higher self, whatever I'm feeling that day. And it just provides the most 5D perspective of life. Um, it's honestly comparable to plant medicine when you get really good
Mm.
at it, having that third eye experience. It releases the same chemical, the DMT, and it literally gives you that 5D perspective of your life, being able to see everything with perfect vision. Um, as far as Mother Earth goes, I honestly doing breath work in the mountains is the most grounding experience ever, 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 ever. Um, it's kind of like seeing the full light spectrum shooting through my crown and all the way down into my root. Um, I don't know if that answered your question. I feel like that was
Yeah, no,
not.
that no, that makes sense. Yeah, there's so many ways to access healing and empowerment, and I just think it's beautiful that those things that are natural, that come naturally to our physical body and our surroundings can have such a beautiful impact physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And it's kind of just giving us the space to open our mind to other possibilities where maybe if prayer isn't working for someone, well, you can do breath work and you can open up a different channel of connection. But it's almost like releasing the construct or like the structure of what it has to be and embracing kind of like the wild woman, the wildness inside.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love what you said about prayer too. Um, there are just so many studies, both ancestrally and modern day, that show that just breathing for 7 seconds in and 7 seconds out is the most nervous regulating thing. And that's actually what the Buddhist monks or the Hindu monks do. They do the Om for 7 seconds, but it has that same vibrational frequency of the whole of Om. Like I can't remember what it. I'm having a brain smash,
That's
but
okay.
the sound created everything.
Yeah,
Anyways, just major nervous system regulation that allows you to drop deeper into consciousness so that you can have that connection and that prayer if that's something that feels good to you.
that's beautiful. Okay, I have a couple more questions. How
Okay.
has this shift inside of you embracing breath work and kind of just raising your frequency and kind of living life in a 5D perspective, how do you feel like that's helped you with your kids in helping them in that way? You have the cutest kids, by the way. I love seeing how adorable that they are.
Oh, thank you. This is actually something that I've really struggled with. As far as leaving organized religion, this has been the hardest part for me is trying to know how to teach my kids and what to teach them because there's things that I believe, but I don't know how to teach them on their level. And so what I have come to the conclusion of with myself is that they are their own divine little beings and that if I just show them and not really necessarily even teach, but just share how I have found connection, that they will be able to find their own connection when they feel ready or when they need it. Um, my 6-year-old is very stubborn and we are very much alike. And anything that I suggest, he absolutely refuses.
He's
So I
starting
haven't
out
had the best
young.
of luck. Yes. I haven't had the best of luck with him wanting to do breath work with me, but I do see him every once in a while, even just simple things like when he's feeling very overwhelmed or heightened, that he remembers to take his breaths. And that for me is amazing that he knows where to go when he feels that way. Go to your breath when you feel any kind of heightened emotion. Um, but I just have really tried to just lean into letting them be their own humans with their own sacred journey, and wherever that leads them is going to be a beautiful, and I'm here to support them and share what I know along the way.
Ah, I love that. That is empowering and like so beautiful. It's just like I feel as though and delivering a lot of messages too. there are times where I'll focus in on when there's children or something like that to kinda help a parent see, because when someone's in the midst of everything and they're like, "I've tried everything and I can't see this different perspective," it's kinda like riding the wings of the eagle, right? And, like, helping them see a different perspective of their child. But it's interesting too because I've seen so many times that of course, our children reflect things to us, but they also do come with their own awareness of who they are, of what they came here to experience. And so when we can just kind of get out of the way and support, like I've seen so many messages of that coming in, like they're okay, nothing is wrong with them. Just help them find their compass of like who they are, and they got this. Like it's going to
Yeah.
be tough. There's going to be amazing aspects as well, and then there's also times where I've seen when moms are pregnant, they might go through this spiritual shift or this opening, like when a baby is born or when a baby is growing inside of them. And it's kind of interesting to see the shift that children can bring literally inside, but almost like projection shift someone as they have children. Have you
Mm.
experienced that with you? Have you thought about that with like your little girl?
Yeah, I kind of look at her and I wish you could talk. So I'm like, what do you remember? Tell me all the things that you know.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I definitely have. I feel that.
Yeah, it's interesting because it just feels like so many little kids are so connected
Yes.
and they're here to help shift. And we know as we're moving into this 5D consciousness and this self expression of love and co creation, is I feel like children come already knowing who they
Yeah.
are, what works for them. They're already so connected as we know. And then how empowering would that be if a lot of women had that same mindset of, they come with their own they're their own little being, and I just want to help embrace that, however that is. Because I found that, the ages 6, 7, 8, a lot of times people tend to shut down their spiritual connection or their unique medicine because
Yeah.
it's like not normal or their parents don't know how to handle it. And so I love that perspective. And of course, you're probably going to go through ups and downs. And when I have kids, it'll probably be the same way. But I don't know. I think that's a really good outlook in that aspect.
Oh, thank you. I honestly, it's scary to just kind of let go. But at
Yeah.
this time, like it's honestly easier to just let go as well. It's scary but easier. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. And your husband,
yeah.
how have you helped support him with breath work? My husband did plant medicine. He's done a couple different things, and
Mhm.
he just recently came back from they call her grandmother ayahuasca or grandmother prayer, grandmother Aya. And he learned a lot about breath work and how breath work literally helped him purge like childhood cages and wounds and heaviness. And at some point I'll have him on the podcast, but he saw breath work as something that was, like, so empowering for him, but whenever I've tried to do breath work with him, like, it just doesn't work, so now I'm finally, like, if he's overwhelmed, like, today he was, like, very overstimulated, I'm like, "You should just try to do some breath work," but it's almost like I have to, like, let him do his own thing, and if I try to do it with him, it doesn't work, and in our 3
Mm.
years of marriage, I've been like, "Hey, let's meditate," and I'll be, like, breathing and because in journey work is the same thing, like, with your breath work, how you kinda leave your body and you experience things, and, so I've been able to and I'm, like, trying to help him, but he literally can't sit still for more than, like, 2 minutes, and then he gets, like, antsy, and I'm like, "Okay, you can leave." And it's like I'm like, "I wish we could just do this together," but honoring how he experiences it versus me. How have you seen that with it's Kent, right? That's your husband's name?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
how have you seen breath work with Kent?
Um, you know it's hilarious. When I first started awakening, I bought my first box of crystals and he was like, "This is all okay with me as long as you don't turn into that weirdo hippie girl."
Here you
And
are.
I but he actually loves breathwork. He hasn't done too many sessions with me. Um, he's definitely the type that needs to be guided with it, but he loves it. He actually came to my class last night, and I hope he doesn't care that I share. But I was watching, and he was in the front row, and he was just crying. I was like, oh,
Oh.
oh, I love it. He is. he has a very imaginative and brilliantly capable mind of visualizing things. And so anything that opens him up to being able to see from a different perspective of, he has a gift at. And so breathwork has been a massive thing for him to be able to release. And I feel very grateful that he's so supportive of me with
Yeah,
that.
and so open to experiencing it himself as well.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
beautiful. Oh, I love that. Well, when you end up having, I know, of course, because you are homeschooling as well, right? And
Yeah.
you have a whole homestead, all kinds of vegetables. And how many animals do you have on your property at this point?
Oh, we don't have much right now. We have two goats, we have one little pony, and then we have, I think we have 12 chickens and then two dogs. So nothing crazy.
Nothing too crazy, just a couple goats. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
I know at some point when you do end up having some more breathwork activities or even retreats and stuff, like I definitely want to help promote that on Modern Sages. And I know that I don't know, I haven't had breathwork experience with you yet, but when you do, I'm gonna completely be all there because I've been praying and meditating, and every time I'm just like, I feel like Mallory has so much to teach and so much to learn from her. And so I just feel so honored to have you on the podcast and to just hear your story. And I know, there's so much vulnerability that comes into it as well. And I just really feel like letting you know that you have made a difference, even just sharing your life in general. And I sound like a stalker, which is, I'm like, I kind of sound like a stalker at this point, but
No.
you've just helped me just embrace being in nature and like wanting to be outside. And I'm like, okay, she has found a way of like being able to navigate that. And so I just really want to let you know like that what you do matters and you do make a difference all the time, just even just sharing your life in general. And I think that a lot of people want to live the lifestyle that you've created for yourself. And so like hearing how you've navigated through it. And of course, it's not always sunshine and butterflies, but I just think that you bring the space of like doing something to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like actually taking the action. And so I just wanted to thank you so much for being on here and everything like that because it has touched my life a lot. And I know you impact so many people, even if you're not aware of it.
Oh, you, Jen, so much. That is the kindest words. Those are the kindest words. And I feel the same way about you. I actually, when I saw that you were starting to do mediumship, I just was so drawn to all of your journey. And I had heard through the grapevine with just family friends and stuff that you were a medium. And I was like, that is so cool. So being able to watch your journey as well has just been beautiful. And I just once again am so honored that you had me in your beautiful space and so grateful to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, how can our tribe follow you, get a hold of you, know if you're having any upcoming opportunities? At some point, of course, you're in the moment, which is amazing, but for future opportunities.
Definitely Instagram. That's where I run everything. I don't have a website yet or anything fancy, so everything I do is on my Instagram account.
Perfect. And I will link that in the show notes below as well. Do you feel called to connect to your medicine within? Have you wanted to strengthen your spiritual gifts? Are you looking for ways to incorporate the sacred into your everyday life? Maybe do you want to have like-minded friends in a tribe who can connect with you? Modern Sages Soul Tribe is dedicated to spiritual seekers like yourself who are embracing the medicine within. Now, in this tribe, we are going to be doing moon gatherings, amazing spiritual gift giveaways, connecting to a soul tribe, as well as hosting mystery school classes. If you are feeling called to connect to the soul tribe, I will leave a link for you in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to Modern Sages Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us online. Blessings.